The Constitutional Court has ruled that Taiwan's use of the death penalty is partly unconstitutional. Its long-awaited ruling was in response to a case brought by Taiwan's 37 death row inmates. Louise was in court when the justices began delivering their verdict. Louise, what does it say?
Well, Leslie, much hope was pinned on this judgment by activists supporting the 37 death row inmates in their petitions to the court. No political party in Taiwan has moved to abolish the death penalty. That's because survey after survey shows strong public support for keeping the punishment. So activists saw this as the biggest chance in a generation. But the 12 justices, the 8 men, the 4 women, they did say that while the right to life is protected by Taiwan's constitution, that protection is not absolute. They said that the state may punish murder to protect people's lives for the purposes of a just retribution and to maintain social order. So they ruled that it's constitutional, but its use should be strictly limited. They say it can only be used in the most serious of crimes, which is essentially what already happens in Taiwan, even though there's dozens of crimes on the books that still carry capital punishment. In practice, it's only handed out for a handful of murder convictions. And in recent years, fewer people have been sentenced to death and fewer executions have been carried out. The last one was carried out in 2020.
Louise, what next for the inmates and for the decades-long campaign for abolishment of capital punishment here in Taiwan?
Well, none were actually in court to hear this very long judgment being read out. There were a lot of empty rows. By my reckoning, 5 of the 37 death row inmates can now file extraordinary appeals. That's because that the justices, they overturned the mandatory death penalty on kidnapping that led to murder. That involves 2 of the inmates who were sentenced more than 20 years ago before Taiwan removed the mandatory death penalty. And then also the justices ruled today that offenders with mental impairments should not be executed. That could involve another 3 of the petitioners, the 3 on death row as well. But the rest have now exhausted their appeals. Some of them have been on death row for more than 30 years. And activists previously said that they thought that the court wouldn't hear a case like this for another 20 to 30 years. So what's left for activists? They've expressed their palpable disappointment today after the ruling. They may well now try to push again legislators, try to get legislators to reform capital punishment. Their pressure in the past and international pressure on Taiwanese legislators hasn't changed much, though, because of that strong public support for the death penalty in Taiwan.